So yesterday we have seen how to uh, upload the image to SAP system and display that logo in what smart form. And we also discussed again one more example on tables, all those multiple windows, right? Now let us see the concept of standard text. Okay, so what is this standard text is? See here, standard text means if you take any business, every business contains what different business documents. Okay, so in each of those business documents, there is some content which is common. Okay, so that content which is common across different business documents, we can store it as part of and include that standard text in any number of what smart forms. Understood? I repeat, of every business, okay, you'll have some business documents, inquiry document, purchase order document, sales order document, invoice document, the delivery schedule document, like that. You'll have different business documents. Okay, so in each of those business documents, that there is some content which is common. Okay, so that content which is common, we can store it as part of standard text and include that particular standard text in any number of what smart forms. Just like if you take our reporting, if you feel that same variables, internal tables and work areas should be declared across the should be used across the reports, what we can do, we can declare them as part of what include program, and in multiple objects we can include that include program by using what include statement. Similarly here also, in case of smart forms also, okay, so something like this, we can create the standard text part of a transaction code called as SO10. Okay, so inside the standard text I may have some static content or some dynamic content. Okay, so with that content I can store it in what standard text and include the standard text in what any number of what documents. Okay, so assume that in all these business documents the company address has to be shown. So that company address I can maintain it as part of what standard text and include that standard text in what any number of what forms, and this forms you might have designed by using smart forms or SAP scripts, or it can be Adobe forms also. Understood? So the business documents can be designed using different tools, SAP scripts, smart forms and Adobe forms. So irrespective of any tool, I can include that particular standard text. Okay, so this is the main purpose of what standard text. So how do you create this standard text? By using the transaction code called as what SO10. By using this SO10, we can create the standard text. Okay, so let me create the standard text. So I'll go to what SO10. What is the transaction code? SO10. Right, I'll go to SO10. Then here it is asking the text name. Nothing but what a standard text name. Okay, I'll give the standard text name as, let me give the standard text name as something Z something Z what something Airtel something. The name of the standard text is what Z Airtel address. I'll say something like this. Done. What is the text ID? Text ID should always be ST. ST indicates what? Standard. Even if it doesn't come, you have to browse and always choose the text ID as what? ST. ST indicates what? Standard text. Okay, and the language is what? English. So the name of the standard text is Z Airtel address. Provide the text ID as ST. Language is what? English. Okay. Then after this, click on create button. Yeah. The system is attempting to replace the following file. Do you want to allow this? Just say allow. Then it has opened the editor. So as usual, I'll choose what? Go to change editor. So here I have to provide the what? Standard text. Okay, so it can be a static text or it can be dynamic text. As of now, I'm going for what? Static text. So I'll just say Airtel customer care, something. Something like this. This is my content URL. Am I clear? So I'll just save this standard text. Save, go back. So you can observe here, when I'm saving the standard text, it was not asking any package. Otherwise, generally, whenever we save any object, when you're trying to save, it will ask you for the package. No? We can save it in the local object, or we can save it in a transportable package in case if you want to do the transportation. But here, when I'm saving the standard text, it is not asking for any change request. It is not asking for any separate mechanism for transporting this particular standard text. We'll see that. Yeah, this is the name of the standard text. Z Airtel address done. Go back. So what is the next agenda? This standard text, we can include it in what? Any number of what? Smart forms. We can include it in any number of smart forms. So I'll go to smart forms T code. Right, I'll go to smart forms T code. Yeah, provide the smart form name. Let me give it as something ZS form 6. Done. Create. Provide in the form attributes, provide the description. I'll just give a description as what? Including standard text. Including standard text. This is the name of the, this is the description. Okay, done. Then, as usual, I don't want any parameters on those things. So, what is the agenda now? What are the standard text we have created? This standard text should be included in your smart form. So, if you want to show any content in the smart form, what you will do? As part of the window, we'll create the text element, we'll create the text object, and the text object is by default what? Text element. Make clear. So here, this is my form. Yeah, I want to include this particular standard text. Include as part of this default window, that is main window. I'll right click and create the text object. Already we know if you want to show any content in the smart form, you have to go for a text object. Whatever the text object we have created so far, it is of what type? Text element. So here also, I'll right click on the window, create text. A text object gets created. Okay, so you can see here the text object got created. What is the text type here? Text element. The text type is text element. Right, so I'll change the text type. I'll change the text type from text element to what is this? Include text. Make clear? I'm changing the text type from text element to what? Include text. Is it clear? If you go for text element, what we have to do? We have to create the text locally. Either we can display some static text, or I can display the content from some fields or work area or interval table, all those things. Now I want to include the standard text. So what you have to do? You have to create the text object of type what? Include text. Change the text type to include text. The moment I change it to include text, Yeah, are you sure you want to change the type of the text to node? I'll say yes. Done. So you can see it is asking that it is getting different settings here. Text type is include text, text name. What is the standard text? Just now we have created the Airtel address. The Airtel address. So what I can do here, I can browse. If you know the name, you can give it, or else you can browse and provide the identify that particular standard text. So name, right? I know that it's starting with Z Airtel. So I'll say something Z Airtel star. Okay. Text ID is what? ST, language is English. So when I execute, it will display all the standard text starting with what? Z Airtel, or simply I'll say Z Air star. If I don't say like this also, if I exit, it will show you the first 100 entries. Okay, you remove this and check for all the entries if you want. So I'll just say Z Air star. When I execute, I can see it is showing that standard text Z Airtel address, language is English, object is not text here, ID is ST. Then choose this entry, continue. Right, so it has been, the standard text has been included. That's all. Save it. I'll save this smart form in the local object, check for the syntax error, activate this particular smart form. Yeah, smart form is what? Activated. Understood? So I can, we have the provision to test it here only. So when I execute, this is the generated smart form function module. Execute. Right? I don't have any parameters. When I execute, yeah, as usual, I'll get output device is LP01 print. Right? So I got the content. So what is the advantage of standard text? A standard text is associated with some static text or some dynamic text. As of now, we have created the standard text using what? Static text. Where do you create that? In SO10. So once a standard text is available, I can include that standard text in what? Any number of forms. And that forms we might have designed either by using what? SAP scripts or smart forms or Adobe forms or whatever it is. Okay, so we have created the standard text in SO10 and we include that in what? Smart form. How do we include that in the smart form? As part of the window, we have to create what? A text object. By default, the text object gets created as text element. Change that to include text. Change the type to include text. It will ask you for the text when browse and provide that particular standard text. Okay. Now let me call this smart form from our driver program. I want to show some change here. So already we have written around 5 driver programs for calling the smart form, but I'll do a small change. Observe. I'll go to SC38 Z call smart form Z call S form file. Z call S form. Okay. So I'll make a copy of this. I'll copy this to 6. Right. So how do you call the smart form? We already know. We have to get the smart form function model name dynamically. How do we get it? We have to call the function model SSF underscore function underscore module underscore name. And I don't have any parameters from a smart form now. So let me remove all the things. Yeah. So first, I don't require all this. So directly what I'll do, I'll get the smart form function module name. What is the smart form name? In this case, ES form 6. Right. So whenever we pass the smart form name as input, it returns associated function model we have received. So once a smart form function model is received, okay, once a smart form function is received, what is the next step you are doing? If v underscore f name is not initial, we have to call the smart form. So we have to call the smart form. Our smart form doesn't have any parameters. We have not created our own parameters. All these parameters, what our SAP has given, they are what? Optional. So when I execute this, so directly if it is not initial, calling the smart form, since it doesn't have any parameters, I will remove all this. So we are just calling the smart form function. Let me save it, check for the syntax. Very straightforward. First, we are calling what? SSF function model name, which takes a smart form name as input and returns the associated function model. Okay, and we are calling that particular function model dynamic. So when I execute, yeah, you can see here. Whenever I execute the driver program, it is asking us to provide you what output device. What is the output device? I need to browse and provide LP0, right? So I'll just browse this and continue. We have only one output device. What is that? LP0, and you have to click on print preview at the result. It's working fine. But all this in the last 5-6 driver programs, whatever we have written, when I executed this, every time we are getting this print dialog box, right? In the print dialog box, we have to give the output device. Listen, we have to give the output device and we have to click on print print. But generally, what happens is the expectation would be this print dialog box should not be displayed. Directly, I should get the preview. Make clear? Whenever I execute the driver program, directly I should get the preview of my smartphone. Again, it should not show me the print dialog. So what is the agenda now? We need to suppress that particular print dialog box. Make clear? We need to suppress the print dialog. So how do I suppress means? Suppress means in every smart form function model, you'll have some standard parameters like in the import section. We have some standard parameters which are given by what? SAP. Okay, so you can see one of the parameter here, control underscore parameters. It is actually optional parameter. Control underscore parameters is of type SSFCTRLOP. It is of type SSFCTRLOP. So when I double click on this, okay, let me double click on this. Yeah, it is basically a structure. So what is the meaning? This parameter is nothing but a work area because it is referring to what? Structure. So if I double click on this structure, it has got around 11 fields. Okay. So in this 11 fields, you can see here, there is one parameter here, device. What is this? No underscore dialog. Device is what? Character of 8 output device. No underscore dialog. It is character of 1. Preview character of 1. Okay, so keeping these fields in mind, device, no underscore dialog, and preview. So what I will do before calling the smart form, function model, I'll prepare this work area of type 1, SSFCTRLOP, and I'll try to pass. It is under import now, while calling becomes what? Export. So what I'll do after getting the smart form function model here, if it is not initial, what I'll do, I'll prepare the control parameters. Data. I have to prepare a work area. Data w underscore control underscore param type on so and so. Okay, then I'll say w underscore control underscore param hyphen device equal to what is the device we are giving in the printed dialog box LP01. So let me try to provide as it is LP01. Then here I'll say w underscore control underscore param hyphen. What is that? No underscore dialog equal to what? X. Okay, then I'll say w underscore param hyphen preview. I want to see the preview. No? Preview equal to what? X. So what I did here? I prepared the control parameters. I'm preparing a work area of types also. Then while calling this function model, that parameter is under which section? Import. Na? What is the parameter name? Control underscore parameters. Import becomes what? Export. So here I'll say exporting. What is this? Control underscore parameters is equal to w underscore control underscore what? When I execute, when I say effect, okay. So I'm getting an issue here. Parameter device LP01 is not allowed. Okay. Okay, it is not allowing me that. So one second. Device it is not taking the okay. It is character of 8. Actually, it should be 4. Let me check the other parameters anywhere here. We have output options. If I double click on this, in this, do we have anything here? Full output was TD test. Actually, what should happen is, okay, let me try this also. Then I'll TD test output options. Output options type of so and so. W underscore out underscore options hyphen what is the TD test equal to LP01. This I'll comment it. And here, while calling the smartphone function model, let me pass the other parameters. What is the other parameter? Just now we identify output options. These are types also. Let me try to pass this output underscore options. Here I prepare w underscore out underscore. Define an output device in your user master record. The issue is this should come by default. So actually what you have to do is, since this has to come in by default, we have to do that settings. These are all the user settings that you have to do it in. This is done by administrator. So we have a T code. It is not required for you, but still, I'll go to SU01. SU01. What is the user ID? I'm working with BA. So if I go to BA and user, actually I don't have permission to modify. I'll try to open it in change mode, but I don't think it will allow me. It's allowing that. Let me check. I opened in change mode, but I think I can't save it. So you can see here there is a defaults, right? I'll go to defaults here. Yeah, in the defaults you can see here we have one field. What is this? Output device. I repeat. Actually, this is done by what? The administrator. You need not worry about that. If I go to SU01T code, okay, for which user you want to default that output device BN. My logged in user is a BN. In my case, with BH, I'll give BN. I'll click on what? Change mode. I'll go to what? Defaults. Here, output devices. So here, if you browse, What is the only output device? LP01, but I don't think it will allow me to save. I gave the output device LP01. I'll click on what? Save. It is allowing the good. User BN is what? Changed. It is allowing me. Fine. Let me try it now. I'll go to SC38. I'll run that particular program. Let's see whether it works or not. Execute. Good. I got the result. Actually, do I require this? I don't require this parameter also, I think. Let me check. I don't require that. Okay, fine. Suppose I'm trying to give this also. Okay, I don't require that parameter. So very simple, straightforward. Don't require this. Got the result. So observe this carefully. Suppose I'll not pass this parameter. I'll comment it. Okay, I prepared the parameters, but I'm not passing. So I'm calling it just normally what you have done so far. So when I execute this, what is happening here? I'm getting the print dialog box. This is coming by default. Earlier it was not coming because now I've done some user settings. I went to which T code? SU01. Just SU01 in that for that user, VN user, which is my logged in user. I went to the default tabs. I get output with LP0. That's why it is coming by default. So in your systems also, I don't know whether your practice done, it may come by default. How it will come by default is because the setting might be there in what? SU01. Okay. If it is not there, I have shown you how to configure, but that configuration is generally done by what? Administrator. Now I'll click on print. So what is the agenda here? I don't want this print dialog box now. So for that reason, in every driver program, you can do like this. You can prepare the control parameters. One of the parameters of types also in that you set no dialog, means don't display the dialog box, and you want the preview. So you set preview equal to X and pass that particular parameter. So directly here you'll say exporting smart. Okay, so when I execute, see the advantage. When I execute this driver program, I'm getting the preview dialog. Okay, so this is how you'll skip the printer. Prepare the controls parameter for skipping what? Yes, for skipping what? Print. Before that, that setting should be available in SU01. So in my case, the logged in username is what? BN. The logged in username is BN. So if I go to what? SU01, okay, provide the username, click on what? Change mode. So make sure that in the default tab, output device is set to what? LP0. If it is not set, you set it and save it. Yeah. So any questions so far? So in every program, we can prepare that particular control parameters and pass that control parameters while calling the smart form function module so that we can bypass the printed elements. Yeah, any questions? So what are the things we learned today? We have seen how to create the standard text in S410, and we have seen how to include that standard text in smart form. And while calling the driver program, we understood how to bypass the printed dialog box so that the preview will be displayed directly. Okay. Now let us see how to transport this particular standard text. Okay. So what is the meaning of transporting standard text? When I am creating the standard text, when I save the standard text in S410, it is not asking for any package, but in the real time, what are the developments we do in development system needs to be transported. So the standard text also in the project will create it in the development system. We need to transport it to quality and from quality to what? Production, so that the customer can make use of that. Okay. But while saving the standard text, it is not asking for any package. So if it is not asking for a package, I cannot assign it to any change request. So if you are unable to assign the change request, I cannot do the transportation. So how do you transport the standard text is, so see here, what is the standard text I want to transport? What is the standard text we have created? Z Airtel address. Understood? So if you go to SO10, this is the standard text I created. So once again, if you observe here, I'll create the standard, one more standard text. Try to focus. When I save that standard text, it will not ask you for any. The text name is something Z Gensoft address. I'll give the text ID as what? Always what? ST, language is English. You can give any name here, start with Z or Y, create. Right? So it is asking me to open the word processing tool. Hello. It has opened the word processing tool. As usual, I'll choose go to change editor. Right. So here I'll provide the text. So I'll say something. Some text. This is all what? Auto-coded text. How to create it dynamically, we'll see that going forward. So this is my text. So I'll save it. Okay, so when I save it, it is asking for any package, no. So there should be some mechanism to transport this particular standard text. So we have created what? Two standard texts. One is Z Airtel address and this is what? Z Gensoft address. I want to do the transportation of this particular standard text. Okay. So how do you transport this standard text? Means we have to run one report program. There is a standard report program given by SAP, STXH. This is a standard report program provided by SAP, which can be used for transporting the standard text. STXH. What I'll do here, I'll run this program. I'll go to, it's a standard report program. So I'll go to ABAP editor, SC38. What is the standard program I'm referring? STX. Report program. STX. Okay, done. So if I display, I cannot modify it now. It is a standard program. So I cannot open it in what? Change mode. Okay, so here it is in my system, it is IDS system. It is opening in modifiable mode, but this is enhancement mode we call it. So leave it. But generally, it will ask you for what? Access key. And it will not allow you to modify the standard program. So if I display, I'll try to read the documentation of this program. I'll choose go to documentation. Understood? Or else here only I can choose documentation and display. Okay, if I go inside, I'll choose the menu, go to documentation. Yeah, if they give some documentation here, we need to read this particular documentation. This documentation will let you know how to use this particular report program. So this report program expects correction tasks. So when I execute this here, observe here, when I execute this report program, you can see it is asking the name of correction/repair. So before we execute this program, we need to keep the correction task ready so that I can assign the correction task here. Make clear? So how do we do it? Already in the transport management session, I told you how to create the request, how to create the task. Am I clear? So let me go to transport organizer tool, that is SC09, and create the request. Whenever we create the request, what happens? One default task gets created. Okay, so let me try to create the request. So I'll go to transport organizer tool SC09. Already we have discussed this in transport management sessions. Okay, so I'll go to SC09. Right. Okay, what is the logged in user BN? So here request type, you choose it as what? Workbench request. Request status, choose it as what? Modify. Okay, choose a request type as workbench request and request status as modifiable. Click on what? Create button. So when I click on create button, it is asking again what type of request. Go for what? Workbench request. Choose the radio button workbench request, continue. Yeah, it is asking some description. Okay, so I'll just give the description as a request for standard text. Any meaningful description you can give. Okay, so I'm trying to create the request. I'll save it. Right, so when I save it, you can see a request got created. What is the request number? S4HK 900724 is the request. And what is the task here under this request? You have one default task. What is the task name? S4HK 900725. 724 is the request. 725 is the task. What is the prerequisite for running this program? This program will accept some input. What is that input? It will expect the correction task. The input you have to give it as what? Correction task. Understood? This is a standard program. Input for this standard program is what? Correction task. Understood? What is the task status here? Unclassified. So let me try to use this task. Let us see whether it will accept or not. So S4HK 900725. So I'll run that program. Right, so I'll go to STXH done. I can directly execute from here. I'll click on the execute button. It is asking the name of correction slash repair. Browse this. Showing many tasks here. What is my task here? S4HK. Yeah, S4HK 900 something is there. Is that? Yeah, I can see. What is the task number? It is showing up to 500 entries. Okay, so I'm interested in what? More than 500 entries. Okay, or else I know it will start with what? S4HK. Na? So I'll say S4HK start browsers. It will list out all the entries starting with what? S4HK. So if I scroll down, okay, so it is not showing still, might be still not sufficient. I can change the number of entries. I'll change it from 500 to something 2000. Overall, how many entries are there? 714 entries are there, starting with what? S4 HK. So if you scroll down, yeah, this one in 724 is the request, and what is the task? 725. What is the status of this task? Unclassified. So I'll choose 900725. But what is the prerequisite? This task status should be what? Correction task. In our case, the status is what? Unclassified. So let us say we'll accept on. The text key object is always text. Standard text name. What is this? We have two standard text. Okay, I want to transport only one standard text. What is that? Z Airtel address. Z Airtel address. Provide that or you can browse here. Understood? So Z Airtel address is one of the standard text. Text ID is what? ST. Language is what? English. That's all. Okay. Execute this. So when I execute, let's see when I allow. When I execute, yeah. Okay, so this is a standard text. If it is not selected, you select. After selecting this, okay, press enter. I don't have any other button here. Provisional list of text to be transferred. Okay, if you want to transport both the standard text at a time, you can transport. How do you transport? Z Airtel address. I can click on this. What is the other standard text? Z Gensoft address. Z Gensoft address. Done. Execute this. Right. I'll click on the execute button. Yes, both are selected. If it is not selected, you select. Okay, you select. I'll select this. Both are selected. Press enter. After selecting, press enter. Yeah. Number of selected text is not 2. Now there is a button appearing. What is this? Transfer text to correction. Click on the button what transfer text to correction. So when I click on this, do you want to add the text to the correction task? Yes. It is giving an error on the status bar. What is that? Changes to objects are only allowed in correction/repair. So the predict to this is that report program always expects the task whose status is what correction/repair. In our case, what is the status? Unclassified. Na? That's why it is not allowing me to assign the standard text to that particular task. So what is the change I have to do? What are the tasks we have created in SC09? Change the task the status to what? Correction. So how do you change it? If you go to SC09, right? Workbench request modifier already created. Na? I'll just click on what? Display. Yeah, what is that? This one in a 724 is a request. Under this, what is the task here? 725. What is the status here? Unclassified. You have to change the status to what? Correction. How do I change? Right click. Okay, Arun, just select this task here. Choose the menu request class task. What is this here? Change type is there. Or I can right click on this task. Somewhere you might have change type. It is not there here. Okay, it is not there in the context menu item. Okay, it is not there in the context menu item. So I'll just choose this. Choose the menu what? Request class task. What is this? Change type. What is the status now? As of now, unclassified. Choose the task, select the task, choose the menu, request class task, change type. Yeah, you can see what is that you have to choose, either correction or repair. I'll go for what? Development/correction. It should be either correction or what? Repair. So choose this, continue. Yeah, good. The status is changed to what? Development/correction. So let me, right? As of now, nothing is assigned to this task. Now let me try to execute that program once again. So I'll go to SC38. What is the program name? RSTXTran. RSTXTran, right? When I execute in ABAP Editor, this is a standard report program. When I execute this, it is asking name of correction/repair. So it is starting with what? S4HK. Okay, I can say star and browse. Right, so more than 500 are available, so I'll just change it to something 1000. 714 entries somewhere at the last. Yeah, this is our text 725. This is a request, this is a task. So I'll choose what? 725 task, done. What is the standard text that you want to transport? Both the standard text. One is the Airtel address. Okay, if you don't know, browse this. That's it. So if you browse, right, if I click on execute button, it would show. Not allowing that. I'll say F4. No input entries are. I'll click on this. Okay. It's not showing. Okay, it's not providing the F4L. Do anything here. Equal to, I'll say F4 no. No, it's not allowing. So just cancel this. Once again, let me Click on execute button. You can see when I click on it, it is selecting all the standard text which are available in the system. I don't want that. So just click on this. So I don't have any F4 help here. Right? I don't have any F4. So better what I'll do here only. Z Airtel, you have to remember the name. Z Airtel address. This is one standard text. I want multiple entries now. Click on multiple selection. What is the other one here? The Gensoft address. Understood? Or else go to SO10 browser and identify the names. Right? So provide this, click on exit. So two entries are selected. What is the text ID? Always ST. Text object is always text. Don't disturb this. Language English. Anyhow, the standard text name I gave it in uppercase when creating in SO10. I have created that names in uppercase. In case if they are in lowercase, you select the checkbox what text name in lowercase. In my case, they are in uppercase. So just click on execute button. Yes, it has selected both the standard text. Just if it is not selected, you select. Just selected, clear, and press enter. Press enter. The number of selected text is 2. There is a button appearing now on the application toolbar, transfer text to correction. If I click on this, do you want to add the text to the correction? Yes. Good. Okay, now I didn't got any error. What is the message I got? 2 text added to what? 2 texts are added to what? S4HK 900 successfully executed. Now, if you go back to SC09, if you go to SC09 transport organizer, workbench request modifiable if a display, right? 724 is the request. Under this, we have the task part 725. Under this, you can see it, both the texts are added. What are they? Z Airtel address, Z Gensoft address. Now you can already you can select the task, click on what? Release directly. Okay, it is successfully released. After releasing the task, the owner of the request will release the request. And just choose this, click on what? Release directly. The request also gets released. Yeah, it is successfully released. You can see at the bottom, it is showing in the released section. Now we have to send this screenshot to the concerned person. Okay, whoever is having the permission to do the transportation. Okay, generally it will be basis consultant. They have to send this screenshot to the basis consultant. He will do the actual transportation from development system to quality system. Okay, so this is how we transport the standard text. Right, so what are the things we learned here? We have seen how to create the standard text in SO10. This is nothing but static content. I directly went to SO10. Within that SO10, I gave some text, nothing but static content. Then how to include the standard text in the smart form? We have to create the text object and change the text object type to what? Include text. The moment I change it to include text, it will ask you for what? The standard text and provide that. That's all. It will be included. Then we understood that by default, when you are saving the standard text, it will not ask you for any package. So if you are not saving in a transportable package, we cannot assign it to a request. So I cannot transport. So how do we transport the standard text in the project bench? Explicitly, we have to run the program for STX tab. Before running that program, what you have to do? You have to keep the correction task ready. So initially what I did, I went to transport organizer. I created the request along with the task. The default status was unclassified. Change the task status to what? Either correction or repair. Understood? After changing it, then we can run the program RSTX run. Then we are able to assign that standard text to that particular task. Okay, after that, you have to release the task, release the request, send the screenshot to the concerned person. And what is the other thing we also learned? When you are invoking the smart form from the driver program, we have seen how to bypass the print dialog. part of every smart form, we have a standard parameter given by SAP, control parameters. We have to prepare that control parameters with appropriate fields. We have some two fields, no dialog and preview, set it to X and pass that work area to that particular smart form function model. But before that, we have to ensure that in STU01, this configuration is available for your user, right? In the default tab, make sure that output device is set to what LP0. Then we can skip that particular print dialog. Yeah. Any queries up to this point? Morning hours. Yeah. Any queries before I log off? Sure. So thank you, everyone. We'll meet on Monday.
Thank you, sir.